Twitter is not the voters' role.
You are everywhere.
Twitter is not the voters' role. That is the first thing you have to. And you don't speak for black people. I don't speak for white people. I judge you as an individual, and I want people to judge me as an individual.
Okay.
I bet I did more to fight apartheid than everybody sitting in the studio today.
Cape Town is a great example of a well-run.
So that is
what about
local
Tshwane and what about
do.
Nelson Mandela Bay? Are they as well-run as Cape Town?
Of course not, because it hasn't had the DA government for 20 years. That's the point.
So you're saying that
when you've had the DA government for 20 years,
Helen.
you have a good play. I'm telling you the truth. You can say, oh, Helen, all you like, because I'm not playing your ideological games here. I'm answering still your callers, because they're asking the good questions here.
You don't have to insult us into like
you're insulting me. I will insult you.
Once again, my question to you is: it just sounds like you're saying the DA is corrupt, but we're not as corrupt as the ANC. So how do you work around that when there is some sort of trail that there has been corruption in the DA?
That is hilarious, Anele. You say you're not insulting me. That is an extremely insulting thing to say.
Guys, was that an insult?
It is a deep insult to say that the DA is corrupt and that I'm corrupt.
No,
a deep insult.
Guys, so I see a lot of you in the comments actually saying welcome back and where I've been and all that. I appreciate the gesture. I've actually been around. I've not just I've not just recovered from the death of my friend Neil de Beer, the president of the United Independent Movement. And if you recall that I had an interview with him where we actually planned that we'd have a series of podcasts in a bid for him to, put out his legacy, the words anyway that he actually believed would be the words that we would look back and listen and hear and learn from this South African who actually had a really deep heart for the unity of South Africa and all of that. And his death actually, especially when I watched his last interview with the Biz News co-host, was taken aback. I could feel the heat in me. I could feel really almost being punched by something I couldn't describe, and the way his voice was and all that. And eventually, after hearing that he had passed on, up to now, I still haven't recovered because he was really a friend. And the way he spoke to me in our last podcast, I would actually encourage you guys to go back. I asked him a lot of questions to help him expand the understanding of politics beyond South Africa, but also the wider Africa. And he's a man who actually had Africa at heart. And so I was really taken aback and really hit by that, incident. Also, Shidi Madia as well. When she also passed away, she's also one black, journalist. I always enjoy listening to her interviews as well, especially the last one she had with Helen Zille. But those two incidents really took me aback, and I really didn't recover quickly. But we're back fully, and I'll try to make videos as much as possible. But there's so much happening in South Africa. As much as I was grieving Neil de Beer and Shidi, I've also been overwhelmed with all of the Kwazemy interviews and all that's been going on in South Africa in the wake of the by-elections coming through next year. Actually, Cameroon is also voting today. We are still expecting the results of whether Paul Biya, the 92-year-old president, would come back to be president. And it's just funny, Henry, how much African leaders really worship power. All right, but anyway, this video here, this particular video, is the second part of the interview which Helen Zille, the Joburg aspirant, now had in this with this journalist Anele from the radio, I think Radio 727. Really heated, and for me it just gives us a hint, a tip of the iceberg of what a Helen Zille mayoral candidacy would likely face as mayor of Joburg. Really complicated, province, really complicated place to be a mayor, especially for a white South African, if I could call that. But, this interview actually just gives us a hint of the likely perspectives that both blacks and coloreds and maybe Indians have towards the leadership of the DA and a DA leadership in Johannesburg. There would be a massive, counter flanks. There will be a lot of issues one would actually have to, sustain or endure. And then I'm really hoping that Helen Zille will have the thick skin that it would demand for a white, leader, as it were, in South Africa to sort of like be the mayor of Joburg. The questions Anele posed to her were quite hard-hitting, and then also it actually takes me to the point of how far it is that a black and a white or Indian and colored in South Africa can have a discussion without kind of like the discussion going down into insults and or what one party perceives as insults and the other perceives as normal. So this speaks to the traumas that still weigh down on the racist, the historical traumas that both the whites have a certain trauma, the blacks have a certain trauma ever since independence came in 1994. The Indians and the coloreds as well, and so it speaks. That's all of the things I've been reading from this video. And Helen Zille actually tries to really build on the fact that she fought a lot during the apartheid regime against the apartheid machinery. That's her argument most of the time. Even in her interview with Sizwe Mpofu Welsh, she spoke about how she was deeply involved in the Stevie Biko murder case, and how she was also sort of like she got into trouble because of how her direction in trying to unveil what really happened to Stevie Biko and all that. So she really gains a lot of integrity from that fight against apartheid, all right? But then post-apartheid now, I don't know if probably, because there are these tweets, a lot of people have been speaking about Helen Zille, tweeting against, not against per se, but, her opinion around race issues in South Africa that seems to have stepped on many toes. And to have that sort of like represent a background prior to her becoming mayor, or something that would be a cloud, even as she'll be a mayor of Johannesburg, I think that's going to be a really heavy weight, which she constantly every day has to wake up with a thick skin to, so to speak, wash off as she strives to improve the living conditions and the whole issue plaguing Joburg, as it were. And so those are some of the readings. I really wish her well, but this interview is really important that we all watch, especially those of us who actually are really, longing to see social cohesion in South Africa, because something really deep is going on in Africa right now. There's a really deep Pan-African awakening happening among the young people across the continent of Africa. And, it's really difficult. And that's one of the reasons why I set up this channel, because most Africans do not really yet understand the life of the white South African, or the possibility of a South African being white and African at the same time. And so this is one of the reasons why, I try to set up these arguments and these discussions to help people, especially Africans, slowly start understanding the perspective of white South Africa. And one of the things I really have started seeing is the fact that there's been a really bitter past, across the black race anyway, slavery, colonialism, and all of that. And in South Africa, I had the version of apartheid. So now what I'm beginning to suspect is that, most blacks and colors, and probably what people would call the disenfranchised or oppressed, still see the white through the windows of a white supremacist vision, so to speak. And so this actually becomes a burden for what it means to be white in South Africa, to the point where a white in South Africa now has to constantly perform an Africanness, so to speak. But at the end of the day, it's really important that many white South Africans, slowly start speaking out about the authenticity, the African authenticity that they embody. Because most of the conferences I attend across the world, most of the innovations I hear, presentations and all that, I hear from black South Africans, I hear from colored South Africans, I hear from white South Africans speaking for Africa. And so there's no way we can argue that probably being white and African in South Africa, for example, is not the case. That is something we have to slowly start addressing, start coming to grips with, because we can always learn from each other. There's no one can be an island. All the knowledge that we can actually gain from all of the people who embody Africa in their heart. Like Kwame Nkrumah once said, the first president of Ghana in 1957, he says he was African, not because he was born in Africa, but because Africa was born in him. And so we have many white South Africans now in South Africa who have lived in South Africa. The only thing they know is Africa. They've lived on African soil. I just think that the issue basically now would have to be this whole white supremacist allegations that actually have been springing up against the white South Africans going forward, and how to get past that to be able to perform or probably be, so to speak, an authentic African. I think this is where the burden lies now, especially also for Helen Zille, who will be willing to really now get deeper into her African identity and really express that in the leadership of such a a city, so to speak, as Joburg. But these are some of the challenges, and this discussion with between Anele and Helen Zille really brings these things to the fore. I really wish that we can be patient to listen carefully to the points of arguments that both of them try to put forth. Helen Zille is about efficiency. She speaks about merit. She speaks about meritocracy. She wants people to get the job done. Anele, on the other side, argues that, most of the leadership that have come from the DA and all that has been probably due to the fact that there has been some kind of segregation, so to speak. How to bring those two arguments together and have a Helen Zille, who many would call a white South African today, become a mayor of a city that has probably a black majority, would be a really challenge. And this is what this discussion really tries to grapple with. So let's quickly understand and listen quickly to Helen Zille and Anele really break down some of these issues in this really interesting discussion, and sometimes gets heated. And share your thoughts, guys, in the comments.
The city's job is to provide water, electricity, roads, refuse removal, sewerage, some of the clinics. We don't do schools from the city. That is the provincial mandate. We don't do major hospitals from the city. That is also a provincial mandate. But if you are getting those things, the city is working for you. After that, people who advance in life concentrate on their education. You know what? The most important thing in life is when you're born. You have to be born safely in a clinic where you don't get damaged at birth. Then you need 2 absolutely committed parents who will sacrifice everything for you, who will make sure that you go to a pre-primary school that has to be there, of course, that you ensure that you get all of the pre-primary education you need. You go to a state school that should be well-run, that should be delivering you good education, that your parents make sure you do your homework every single day, that you go through the system without getting pregnant. And that's your responsibility and your parents' responsibility. Without going on to drugs.
You're getting lofty.
No, I'm not getting
you
lofty.
are getting lofty.
I am talking about a partner. It's not ideal.
No,
it's real.
All lofty. But no, we're talking granular things. The fact that you even like 2 parents. No, come on, man. You can't guarantee anybody 2 parents, right? Just stand by. Here's a voice note.
Good morning. My question will be for Helen Zille. What will she do for the Johannesburg water problem that's constantly
Well, first of all, the water and electricity crisis didn't come overnight. It came from 30 years of zero maintenance. And I must say, Anele, with great respect, your callers are asking much more sensible questions than you are, because they're asking the granular questions that have something to do with local government. Now, the first thing people need is water. You can forget about all the other highfalutin stuff. They need water. And when people don't have water because the government has never maintained the infrastructure or invested in new infrastructure, you're going to be without water. Now, we'll have to fix it bit by bit. Let's take the Hurst Hill Reservoir. There's plenty of water in the Vaal Dam. There's plenty of water that's come from the heavens, but you can't pump it into the Hurst Hill Reservoir because there's a big crack in it because it's never been maintained over 30 years. And the pipes are all broken. The city of Johannesburg has replaced 17 kilometers of pipe in a year. Do you know how little that is? Cape Town does over 200 a year and has been doing over 200 since 2006. And over 20 years, that adds up to a lot. And Cape Town has one of the lowest wastages of water in the world.
You're
one
right.
Of the lowest. Joburg loses 46% of its water, almost 50%.
Cape Town is a great example of a well-run.
So that is
what about
local
Tshwane and what about
do.
Nelson Mandela Bay? Are they as well-run as Cape Town?
Of course not, because it hasn't had the DA government for 20 years. That's the point.
So you're saying that
when you've had the DA government for 20 years,
Helen.
you have a good place. I'm telling you the truth. You can say, oh, Helen, all you like, because I'm not playing your ideological games here. I'm talking about service delivery on the ground, which is what local government is about.
Okay.
Bottom line. And to answer I'm answering still your callers, because they're asking the good questions here.
You don't have to insult us into like
you're insulting
into
me.
Us, but
I will
no,
insult
we're
you.
asking you good questions. We didn't insult you once. We're asking you good questions.
I want to tell
you don't have to get defensive.
I'm not defensive. I'm on the attack. I'm on the attack.
Because the first insult here that was thrown was that none of us in this studio are asking good questions.
Well, you aren't.
You don't have to.
That's a fact.
This is going to be a partnership.
You don't have to be insulted by the facts.
This is going to be a partnership. We run Joburg as well as you are going to.
You run Joburg.
Yes, we do. We come
run
here.
Your studio.
Yes, that's what we're doing, Helen. If you win, we're going to be in a partnership because this is the platform that you are going to use to communicate a lot of times. So you don't have to come and insult us. Just you can don't be snarky about it. Still answer. No one here was snarky. We welcome you
insult
in,
me,
and we're great.
I will give as good as I get, and you have to understand that.
When did we insult you, my
With
dear?
every single sideswipe question.
No, we asked you questions.
Let me answer your listeners. No one's interested in you here.
But
they're interested in the
here,
answers to my questions.
Helen, you came
I can
here.
also leave.
Okay,
but I want to answer your
can.
listeners. Okay. Now I'm going to answer your listeners. We will start a maintenance program. We will start by switching a lot of the operational budget into maintenance. Johannesburg spends less on maintenance than any other city in the country. And that is a disgrace. And that is why the poor are suffering. Because there's been no new investment in capital infrastructure and there has been no maintenance. And that is a disgrace because all the money has been siphoned off, given to cadres, turned Joburg into an employment creation hub for the ANC and its own cadres, and that is exactly why you're sitting in this problem. We can't fix it overnight. We will have a maintenance plan. We will inform you of what the maintenance plan is. We will deliver on that maintenance plan, and we will do so with experts, not deployed cadres who want to steal the money to build houses in Waterfall and to do all the other things instead of looking after people in poor areas.
Okay, so once again, there will be a corruption thing that you're getting rid of. Let's say you are found to be involved in corruption things like the Zille spook tenders. How do we approach that? Because you already said that that's not the vibe that you're going to go on, but it has come up. Once again, my question to you is, it just sounds like you're saying the DA is corrupt, but we're not as corrupt as the ANC. So how do you work around that when there is some sort of trail that there has been corruption in the DA?
That is hilarious, Anele. You say you're not insulting me. That is an extremely insulting thing to say.
Guys, was that an insult?
It is a deep insult to say that the DA is corrupt and that I'm corrupt.
No,
a deep insult.
But okay, the Zille spook tender files did present corruption.
Can I just say, Anele never called you corrupt.
She says, what about the Zille corruption? So let me now
Zille
answer her question.
spook tender. No, I didn't say the Zille corruption.
What is the Zille spook tender?
Kaloku, there was also allegations of corruption under you. So I'm saying, if that is found, because you are saying the reason you're going to be able to
I'd
run
love to hear corruption under
Johannesburg.
me. I'd love to hear corruption
Yes,
under me.
but that's what I'm saying, that you are
Give
saying
me
that the
evidence.
reason that
Give me
Johannesburg
evidence.
is not run well is because that you're right, the money does disappear. That's something you and I both agree on. But I'm saying that there are allegations of corruption within the DA.
Examples?
So would you
Examples?
Nancy, this book files the 10 is on.
Which book? Give me examples, please.
Helen, is there anything else you'd like to say before we make sure that every single time that you are here campaigning, we want to hear from you?
If you ask me a question and make an allegation, you have to substantiate it. Simple.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. There were allegations. So what I'm saying to you is...
Allegations is not proof.
If there is found to be corruption within the DA, right?
Yeah.
That means that you can't do what you're saying that you are going to do.
Okay, let me give you an answer to that question, Anele. The bottom line answer to that question is you don't survive in the DA if you are corrupt. You are chopped off immediately at the neck. In the ANC, you can't survive if you're not corrupt because everybody's corrupt. So the minute someone like Babita Deokaran is not corrupt, they have to take her out. So in the ANC, you can't survive if you're not corrupt. In the DA, you can't survive if you are corrupt.
Can you survive in the DA if you're racist?
Certainly not. We're the most non-racial party there is, and we are completely judging people on their value as human beings and not the color of their skin.
Because I think that will be your biggest obstacle in getting to mayor. Once again, I led this conversation with the fact that you are very qualified to run and be mayor. I do not for a second doubt that. I just think that as a person who is living in Johannesburg, as a black person who lives in Johannesburg, black people struggle to see you wanting to forward them. Right? That's what it comes across as.
Anele, when were you elected as the spokesperson of all black people? You weren't. How can you speak for black people? I can't speak for white people.
Helen, you are on Twitter every day. You see what people say about you, babe. You see it. People do not trust you to have the interests of black people at heart. Please don't come here and want to like...
Twitter is not the voters' role.
You are everywhere.
Twitter is not the voters' role. That is the first thing you have to... And you don't speak for black people. I don't speak for white people. I judge you as an individual, and I want people to judge me as an individual.
Okay.
I bet I did more to fight apartheid than everybody sitting in the studio today.
And so did the people that are now currently running it into the ground as well. So,
well, some of them. But no one who loves South Africa will steal its money and run it into the ground. No one.
Okay.
And I have no time for people who claim struggle credentials, get into power, and steal the people blind.
Okay.
None at all.
Thank you for your time. We are so late for news. We apologize.
I am so sorry. I would love to answer some serious questions from your listeners instead of arguing with you.
Next
but it's
time.
been fine.
Next time when you are on time, you can answer some serious questions from our listeners.